Hello everyone, and welcome to the stream. I don't know how many of you are here already. It's 5 minutes past. So I'm also checking my own stream just to make sure that I'm not derailing from having no chat at all in case you pop any question or whatever. So this should be pretty much good to go. And right on. All right, so welcome everybody. If you're here, if you're new to the stream, it's been quite a while since I've done a Twitch stream. And so, you know, summer's starting back. There's a lot of videos on the channel, so, you know, probably you've watched a lot of these videos. But as far as streams go, I haven't done many. So this is the beginning of hopefully a new trend, a new stream of streams. Fantastic. And we're going to start with Acustica Audio, as I had the pleasure to test out some plugins that they make that I had heard about, but I hadn't quite used for the past, I would say 2 years, something like that. I knew Nebula, I knew all the Aqua plugins that they do, but I just never used them, you know. But recently I sort of inherited a project that somebody gave me. It's a composer that is no longer working to a title for a video game. Then there's some music that he already wrote. So when I opened his sessions, there were quite a lot of plugins out there in the tracks, and they were all related to Acustica. So I couldn't open the session and make it sound the way it should sound because I didn't have the plugins. So I downloaded the trials didn't work. I bought some. Now I have pretty much all that I needed for that work and more. So, as usual, in the streams, we take things a little bit slower. We don't want to rush and do a sort of a fast and furious kind of stream. I don't want to be the Vin Diesel of audio. I don't care. And I don't think people in streams are here to have a sugar rush on audio. So I kind of hate it when things are over. You know, there's the video game crowd for the super fast-paced stuff. The purpose of this video is to have fun with creating a template that sort of resembled an old school recording studio from the analog days. Not too much, but not, but quite, 80% there, maybe 75, using Acustica Audio plugins. So that's why I called a lot of people from the official Facebook group, because I said, I need your help. I'm sure there's a lot of knowledgeable people out there in the group that know these plugins even better than I do. And I don't think it takes a lot to know them better than I do. But there's also a lot of people that know the ins and outs of a lot of these plugins. Now, Acustica Audio is an Italian-based company, Italy, and they make some fantastic plugins. They've been known for quite a while in the past years for their Aqua engine, and they have a different way of modeling plugs. So they actually don't model stuff. I don't think it's like a component modeling, but they actually sort of capture the sound from the in to the out of any particular analog box. So they have a proprietary, obviously, method for doing it, and they're revered as some of the best companies out there making audio. So I was actually happy to not own some of the plugins, because that I got to own them and try them. And this composer that I've been working with for quite some time, his sound I really trust. He's got a kind of a different edge than what I normally do, but definitely his stuff sounds fantastic. And there's music of his, if you've played stuff from Bethesda software, if you've played stuff from, who else? Well, I know he's done quite a lot of music and assistant work for Bethesda Softworks. So, as top dogs. So, that's pretty cool. So what we have here is Studio One, and what we have here inside Studio One is a session that I've created that has pretty much nothing. Now there's audio that's hidden, and let's go in immediately. So how does it work? We have a master channel up here on the right, which is not up here, it's like on the side, which I usually make sort of white, and that's just gonna be our output channel. These go these two channels go to an Aurora A12. So this is just my monitoring path. It's actually digitally going through some DA that goes to the power amps that go to the speakers. So the other thing you see is a send to the 7.8. That's another digital out that goes to your stream. So that makes it possible for you to listen straight away from the mix bus that I have. Now, I haven't set up mic. I know these lavalier and stuff. If you can't hear me, if I'm talking a language you don't understand, whatever, if there's aliens in my room that I cannot see, just, give me a holler and let me know. I think it should be pretty much all working, at least to be, understandable and bearable. So my usual way of working in Studio One is to have one track that I call mix. How cool and original, right? This track is green. It's a specific type of green. It's peppermint green. And it goes out to the monitoring path, of course. Now on here, I've put some inserts. They're off. I don't even know if I'm going to use these or not. We're going to see. But there's, as I said, the monitoring out, and everything that this track is fed is the different green buses. So I've created 8 drums, bass, guitars, lead vocals, backing vocals, orchestra, keys, and effects. And this should be enough, at least. I don't want to emulate the specifics of any particular console. I don't want to, be limited to 4, for example, or 2 buses, or 3, whatever. So I created 8, which is kind of normal. I, on the other hand, really hate working with 200 tracks. So sometimes I have to, but I don't think that that's entirely necessary for most productions, unless it's a Super Bowl kind of thing. So, that's how I like it. These 8 tracks are 8 buses, so they're gonna get groups. They're gonna become the groups for our own single tracks. So the idea behind the template was to sort of emulate what a studio like Sound City, and I just put it out there on the Facebook group, because Sound City is the sort of like a stereotype of a recording studio that went through the analog years and then got into the digital turmoil of changing things. And they didn't quite change their music production ways, so they stayed true to analog, and they sort of like fought, to their teeth against the new sort of digital trends. And that's why when it closed down and then it reopened under a different name, but like the old vibe of Sound City closed down, the studio, the documentary you might have watched, with Dave Grohl and all the people that made that studio, which is not Dave, but he recorded there, of course, and then he bought the Neve console that was a huge piece of sound and also a huge piece of furniture in that studio. So when the studio collapsed, it really became an icon for the analog days. So a lot of times there's this sort of tendency to sort of iconize the Sound City, which is, it's right. They made so many records. They made from Neil Young to Black Sabbath, going in between to Rat, Rage Against the Machine, Queens of the Stone Age, Nirvana. I mean, there's even, I think they've done something with Michael Jackson as well. They've done Rick Springfield, they've done Rio Speedwagon, they've done Stevie Nicks, and everybody. Buckingham Nicks, whatever. They've done so many records that a lot of you and, I know as well, that is very hard to not make it in every, I wouldn't even say a decade, like every 5 years, it's kind of hard to not say that Sound City was there. A lot of these records, like Nevermind, like even Death Magnetic, for how discussed it was actually recorded there. I think part of the songs or all of the record, maybe you know better. But I mean, it went on more in the years, more than we actually think about, because it's not just an 80s studios, it's not a 70s. I think the first record they did was in 69, 67, 68, I don't quite remember. And I think they went up until 2000 something when they went out of business. And a lot of smaller studios were actually built through the digital philosophy of making music, and they kind of survived after Sound City, and they're still there. So, I mean, the convenience of digital is undeniable, but you know, the sound of analog is also really cool. So we're going to use Acustica audio plugins. We're going to be all happy, and it's going to sound fantastic anyway, hopefully. So what have I done here to simulate being in that studio? You know, not much yet. I've taken the 8 buses and I have opened one plugin that I have by Acustica, which is Gold. And Gold emulates the sort of Neve era of old school stuff, AMS Neve things. Now we know the console in Sound City was an 8078, something like that. I don't remember the exact model, maybe you know. But we gotta have some preamp mojo on it. So I've put them all on bus mode, because these are buses, and I've put them all to a different bus. I've reserved, I think, bus 66 stereo, which is the stereo modeling for drums, and bus 02 stereo for the backing, for the lead vocals. That's about it. The rest is all different. These have all different ways of sounding. So if I were to use a spectrometer, something like this, and we put it here and we leave it here, actually let's put it up here, and then we take a sound generator from a track, let's add a mono track actually, and let's put a signal, actually a tone generator. Tone generator, we're gonna color this dude here white, because all of the utility tracks that I use are white, so that I remember to just take them down. We are going then to put the level to, this is dangerous that this plugin starts at 0. It should never do that. So my studio is calibrated at -16 dBFS, being +4 dBu for those of you who keep count in how to calibrate stuff. Everything here is +4 dBu, -16 dBFS. So it would make sense that I run a -16, but it just really doesn't matter that much. I think that a -16 is gonna be quite loud anyway. So I'm gonna go with 1000, so 1 kilohertz. And you're gonna hear this thing as soon as I go like this, which is unbearable for the human population. So what we're gonna do is we are actually going, I actually saved you because I wasn't going to the mix bus. So I saved your ears. We're gonna go lower than this. Let me see where we can gain stage this dude. Let me do it after the, let me put the spectrum here, remove, put it back up here, and then we're gonna gain stage this with a simple mix tool, because I don't want my audience to suffer from 1 kilohertz sine waves that are dreadful. So this should be pretty fine. Let's see, let's keep this dude up here. And here we are in our virtual studio calibrating our, I cannot say that word, our stuff, as if we were having fun in Sound City, in, you know, whatever. So in the valley where nothing would happen. So open up -16, and now we have this 1 kilohertz dude, right? And then we're gonna lower this guy anyway, right? And actually I'm gonna put it to -infinite because I so much hate this stuff. So we average, fast, doesn't really matter. Let's concentrate here on the 20 to 20K. The session is at 44.1. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually not send this track to mix, but we're actually gonna send it to the different preamps, so to the different buses. And what you see now is just this track going to the mix bus, which has nothing on it, just our spectrum analyzer. But if we were to move this dude to the drums, all of a sudden we have the signal being sent there. So that's remarkably clean, I would say. So let's open this dude up and let's try and see why that happens. It's on. It's cleaner than I thought. Let me see if anything works in -16. Okay, well, we're at -96. That could be. We're not reading that much. How about a minus 94? 144. Let me see this. All right, so there is some sort of harmonic distortion happening there. And I'm sure if we go bus and we put it back to where it was, boom, we got, psychoacoustic effects of my own thinking. And it's like 3000 and a 2K. So we got a 2K and a 3K thing. If we were to increase this signal from minus 16 up, and there's no danger because we are actually not hearing it. I hope you're not hearing it. Here we go. We've got this figure here. Thank you, Donatino. Thank you very much. Glad you like it. I think a lot of people don't do that in live streams because they, I mean, not in videos in general. Like people don't do this. So how do you know if this thing's working or not? So, you know, and I cannot do it in videos because videos need to be super fast sometimes, which I also hate. But streams are perfect because we get some time together to just try stuff. And I promise I'll be less nerd. But this is nerdy stuff. This is our own virtual sound city. So, you know, this is for those kind of people. We're here rocking on a Monday, you know. So, awesome. So we're sending a 0 dBFS now, which is kind of loud. You can read that. Also, there's something very interesting that the input stage is at +2. So what if I go -3? Ooh. Minus 2.5. So it kind of reads like minus 2.5 is the 0 dBFS of the input, this 0 VU, sorry, 0 VU of our drum bus. So this is how this thing is calibrated. Do I want it at 0 with a minus 2.5? Here's something that if you don't know, you're going to be super, super happy about. I actually don't want this. I would like to be able to have something that starts getting to a 0 dBFS, 0 VU, sorry again, a little bit early than minus 2.5. I think that's a little bit too high in the headroom that I have. Because we know that the sort of saturation that this bus is gonna have, it's gonna be kind of optimal from 0 onward. So minus 2.5 is gonna force me to be so kind of loud that that I don't know. I usually have done this with my analog gear, so I usually stay lower. Let's try and see if I crank this dude, the input trim, we should kind of get past it. That's why the dudes at Acustica made it possible for us. So what I would like to do is go to minus, I don't want to be too much, but I would go to -6 maybe. And then I would go up here until the input reads 0. So -6 kind of healthy. We could try that. Now let's move to the bass. Oh, sorry, then we got the output, of course. So what happens is we have a 0 VU reading at -6, and we have a +3 or more. I think we're pinning the needle here, as the people at Sound City would say. So if we're pinning the needle, it means that we're a little bit too hot. So I would come down here up until sort of my guy here is at 0. So I have to give it a little bit around 9. And now my bus, my drum bus, is getting a -6 dBFS signal, a sine wave, through the virtual Neve preamp of my console. The signal is getting me a 0 dB, a 0 VU meter on the input, but I was over saturating the output stage. So now I'm kind of getting a -6 thing coming up. So I'm kind of flat in terms of gain staging, but the console has that sort of mojo. If I wanted more mojo at a lower signal, I would lower the sine wave, and then I would crank the input trim up and then crank the output trim down until I keep reading 0, 0. The reason for this is that I think you folks are fast, so I don't know if you need this, but I'm gonna say, because this video is gonna be here for forever and ever. So, you know, there might be somebody who doesn't know. If we make sure that the signal at -18, for example, is saturating at 0, anything past -18 dBFS or in terms of loudness, is going to saturate even more. So we've got to find the sweet spot, and that might be how your console wants to be calibrated, how mine is. There might be different, but just know that 0 dB, the 0 VU is where things are sounding as the manufacturer kind of wanted. That's why they invented VUs, and that's why there is a 0. It usually doesn't mean much in terms of current, but it means like we're in the sweet spot of the gear. Sometimes we want to stay below to have cleaner sounding stuff. Sometimes we want to go to the red to have a sort of a crispier thing. But how we calibrate these is actually going to make our sound. I am not going to touch the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 preamps. These are an additional output stage that Acustica modeled for a tube preamplifier that was put on the output stage. I'm not going to do it for now. I don't know how this is going to crank things. What we should do is a level meter up here after the spectrum. We're gonna put it up here, nice and clean. And we're gonna reopen our pre-drums, these guy here. That's great. So we have everything that we can see. And our level reads -17.8. So we are sending something kind of loud and -6. Peaking, and then we're gonna have a sort of a minus. What is this? This turns into a -18. I think I'm fine this way. I don't want to change it for now. Let's move it to. Let's try and make this sine wave 100. Now when we go to 100, we're still around there. We're just kind of a tad louder, like 0.1 louder. That's fine. A lot of people that would calibrate stuff in the Sound City days, they would run, especially on tape, 100, a kilohertz, 10K. So, it's a rule of zeros, 100, 1000, 10,000. And that's gonna give you an idea of how the tape machine, for example, is reacting to frequencies that are low, mid, high, very generic. Some people like to run 440 because it's NA and it's where people tune. Honestly, I don't always do that, but there you have it. That's our, we're still nice there. And how about a 10K? We're kind of louder. So the frequency spectrum of this console might be, kind of a -17.8. Well, so, we're still there. So that's fine. We're gonna keep our 1 kilohertz sine wave. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna switch these -6 to the bass bus. Isn't that cool? We're calibrating a virtual console. How nice is that? So now we open bass and we take a look at how this works. So now obviously we're pinning stuff around, so we do the same stuff. It doesn't need to be perfect. Although, my OCD ways of doing things would be trying to, but it doesn't have to be. So we don't care, this is fine. We open guitars now, and it changed. It's like Studio One is so fast at doing that sometimes don't see that. I could move the tone generator to the others, but I don't quite care. So this is now to GT. GT is quite lower. Am I right or wrong? I don't know. Maybe it is. These are different preamps. So they model different channels of a console so that the console gives you a different sound. If you take a pair of guitars and send them to the different buses, they're gonna sound different. And if you look at the spectrometer, you can tell. Because the harmonic content, even for a single sine wave, is not that. Let me save. It's not that. Remember to save, folks. Saving saves lives, especially if you're an assistant in a studio and you have to go to the other room and tell the boss, like, I am sorry, something happened. Can you come take a look? That's the worst thing you want to hear as a boss when you have interns, especially. So, because the first thing you think is something physical happened, like things blow up or something. So, wow, the backing vocals is an even lower. All right, we're getting there. Backing vocals are done. Orchestra, and if it was a real Sound City Studios, now people would be hanging out, doing all sorts of illegal activities. That would be fantastic. We would be so distracted. Now, orchestra, pump it up. you know, drummer's girlfriend comes in and now shouts because he's cheating on her or whatever. So, you know, a little bit of a drama in the studio. And in the meantime, you will be called upon being super chill, pretending you haven't heard anything, and keep calibrating. I can't really simulate this environment now because, you know, it's no longer those days. But anyway, keys is done. Then we do effects. And remember, this is going to be a template. So you are actually pretty good on, you know, using it forever. You don't need to do this all the time, you know, forever and ever. It's done. So boom, we have it. So this awful track with the tone generator and -6 is now generating this sort of compression, sort of kind of saturation behavior. What I would do now is I would try and calibrate the outboard gear. Why not? So we should go past maybe we go through the effects with the same thing. We go through one of the channels. We don't need to go directly to the mix bus because that's kind of unrealistic. And then we take a level meter and we move it all the way down here. So our spectrum and level meters are now after my mix bus stuff. So my mix bus stuff is really, this is probably where I might need your help, because I remember the console that they had, and this is sort of like not to spec to what would be there. But oh, maybe there is. Hold on. There is a Navy plugin that is a compressor. There's also the strip. Ooh, let's try the compressor though. Put it up here. So Navy is supposed to be a clone of the 2254 Neve compressor, and we're talking about something that's kind of old, but not exactly what Sound City would have, because I think they probably would have something like 2264. I don't know that exactly, but that's pretty cool. And what I want to have here is a mix fully wet, no sidechain, I think no makeup. What we want to have is, we know we're sending -6 here, and we want to see some sort of compression here. So see how the signal not quite jumps, it's quite cool how it's going through the effects goes here. So now we have this guy here. Input trim, we're gonna leave preamp on. I haven't used this stuff, so you have to bear with me. I don't know. What is this? Preamp. Okay, so this is on and off. No? Yeah. Custom, Bus Vintage Stereo, Custom EQ, Custom Comp. Bus Vintage Stereo. This sounds exactly what we wanted. Like what we wanted. So we still have a -18 thing from -6, which reminds me of what we were having here, right? If I take a level meter here, we're pretty, all right, we're flat. So let's keep it down here, just so that we make sure that we know, you know, how things are going. So we have -18, we're kind of there. I would probably put it I really like the 1.5 of on the 54. So I would probably keep this. The recovery as well. Let's just go lower, and now we are engaging compression. So what I would like to have is sort of like 1 dB of compression. And you see now we're losing 1 dB here, almost 2, okay. Almost 2. So now we're losing 1 dB at, so the signal is going from the track to the FX bus just to test, and you can read we have a -18. It's the bottommost level meter. Now when we get out of there, we go to the mix bus and we're getting some sort of compression, and this compression gives us a -1. So we're gonna compensate with the makeup to get, again, -0 or +0. You know, so as much as possible. I don't really wanna be exactly the same. So there we have it. Now we have a -1. So this is kind of a cool starting point. We have a compressor, vintage kind of thing. Look at the harmonics. Look at that 1 kilohertz sine wave. What's generating? It's generating all of these, and these are all harmonics that are getting, being added to the preamps and stuff. So if I were to remove Navy and pre-effects, we would go back to a super smooth, non-harmonics rich content, if that makes sense. We're in digital now, pure digital. 1K comes there, gets out of the mix to you or whatever. We're not listening to it because it's obnoxious, just as a reminder. This would be what we're sending. But if we engage the bus, then we see that we do have something, and when we engage Navy, we do have even more. Look at that. That's our compressor and the bus generating sort of like more sound. So here, I think this is fine. Let me save. I had coffee. I don't want to use coffee in that part. But then I would kind of like this. Who wouldn't? This is another Acustica plug, so that's the mood of today. So we have El Rey, which I think it's what Greg wanted to be for his Tel-Ray unit, which is a super cool compressor. So what we're gonna do here is the same thing. We're gonna send -18, we know, but we wanna go to -18 again with just a little bit of saturation. I'm not gonna compress here, if I can. The reason is, I don't know, maybe we do it later, whatever. So this is the threshold, all right? Let's see if we have a bit more mojo without the compression if you go out. So let's take a look at the spectrometer. Let's go out. Let's see how that works. I think it's kind of the same content. It's just preventing the auto gain to engage, right? So if I do this, the signal's going up. What if I do this, it's still going up. If I do threshold, it's compensating, right? Or not? It is compensating. So it tends to stay there. So I don't want the auto gain. That was why I was taking a look at this. I don't think I want any compression at all. I don't think this is gonna change anything. In fact, it doesn't. So we keep it on attack medium. The release at medium, the side chain is not doing anything. The power is obviously gonna do something. And what I read here is that we have a -19.1. So entering and coming out of this unit is giving us a -1 dB drop. So we have to come back up. We could do it with the input, let's see, but it could be compensated. Ah, it isn't. All right, is it? No, fantastic, because we turned it off. If there's anybody working at Acustica who programmed this, is gonna be like, why doesn't he read manuals? I know, right? All right, so we have 1 dB back. Let me see if we can just go 0.2 here. We could be cheating, have a little bit more signal. Come on, -Y. Let's get something more, like a couple dB. Let's see if we can. Yeah, no, we can't. So we're getting some sort of saturation. Let's see what happens without. I don't want to have average, so it's kind of faster. It's kind of colored though. I've got to say, it's kind of pretty colored. Do we want to like go a little bit more up? Is it changing? It is changing, yeah. So maybe sort of like +3. I think I'm gonna regret these because also the makeup, I just cannot go. I need to gain stage it with something else because the makeup can only go up. So if I increase with the output, it's going to be impossible to decrease with the makeup. So I will actually do it here. We actually have another plugin, which is the tape plugin. So who cares? Let's do it that way. Let's keep it at a little bit over this +3. I'm actually gonna be a bit more cautious because I don't know this plug. So let's keep it that way. Just a tiny little bit more. I'm sure it has plenty of sound. So I don't wanna be too aggressive. And now we go to tape because I assume that they would have some kind of tape machine there in the old days. So this is fairly complicated, but not that much. This is the plugin that makes use of all of their tape emulation stuff. stuff. There's like the harmonic content coming just from tape on the top. There's the equalizer in the middle, and then there's the threshold ratio filter that already tells me it's a compressor, limiter, whatever, or off. So I'm gonna turn the limiter off. I could load just one of the modules, but I'm kind of overkilling it, so I like it there. Now there's a lot of presets here that I think I could load. So these are the 3 people that did presets here. And let's see, I want to do my own. So this is upside down. This is the carve of the thing and how it's going to work. So how about something that pumps the mids a little bit? Whoa, that's pretty vintage. We're not gonna print our mixes through it, for sure. Oh, this one was kind of cool. 11 is kind of cool. So we're getting a little bit of a bump around 50. We're getting a kind of a smooth roll off on 20K, and we've got a nice, well, that's a pretty huge bump on 5K. So I'm not even listening to this stuff, and I know it is wrong, but what I want to do is, if we had a tape machine, we would live with that. Once calibrated for a specific tape formula, that would be it. It's not, you can't do it like you do with plugins, like you alternate formulas like there's no tomorrow. You would need to call some dude who you would need to pay as a tape op to just do the calibration again for different tape. So not gonna happen. However, what we can do here, while still taking a look at the input and output, we're not actually changing stuff here, but we're changing it here, right? Ah, no, because we're off. Fantastic. We were bypassing everything. So the EQ I want to keep off, the limiter I want to keep off, but what I want to do is take a look at the harmonic content and how I am changing things. So we are sending -18, we're getting -16, we're louder, we shouldn't be, we already said that. Let's try and get to a sort of a healthier calibration. Like, let's see. Boom. All right. However, we do have kind of like a -18.41 channel. There's almost half a dB difference. So for a lot of people looking at this, you're like, what? This is wrong. It's half a dB on the right channel. Well, it's this tape machine, I'm sure, the one that they sampled. How about this one? Okay, it still has that. How about this one? Still has that. All right, how about we bypass it? We don't have it anymore. Awesome. So if we go to off, do we have it? No. Okay, we don't have it. So it is within this part here. We do have a drop of half a dB on one side. Could be tapes. Do we have it now? No. All right, okay. Now it works. So it was probably me. So Stranger Things is also pretty cool. So we don't have it anymore, so it was probably me tinkering with stuff. I kind of like Paranoid, looks cool, kind of sharp. Oh, that's pretty much what I was looking for. But this is 30 IPS, I don't want 30 IPS. Oh, this is 15, that's a very nice bump looking at it, but we're losing something. So I want something that, there we go, 30, dual left, 15 IPS. I could live with this, but let's try the Sharpie, what was it, B8? Stranger Machines, too bright, it's gotta be Japanese. They used to have that Nightmare, Final Countdown, 11, right? That's what we use, but this is a 30 IPS, so I don't wanna, all right, let's take this, 15 IPS. Look at the harmonic content and how it was changing. What if I do this? Now I'm getting a load. Topi, oh, thank you, Donar. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher your nickname. I usually do, Donarzinho, but that's pretty cool. It sounds great the way I say it, but it's probably super wrong. So, so he's saying Tupe C1 or Topi Tupe. I don't know. Tope C1 sounds great in the mix bus. Boom, we go with your idea. There we go. I gotta say, Rocky, I remember a friend was using it and he was always saying like, you know, I remember these names because the first time I saw this plugin, I was like, what the heck is Rocky and 11 and stuff? It's just names to remember the presets. So we're gonna go with Rocky and that's fine. C1. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, it's nothing crazy, and it's great. EQ not gonna use for now. The harmonic content we're gonna ease a little bit because that's kind of a bit too much. So here, remember to save. The idea would be, do we want to go like a little bit overboard with the bass and stuff? This is compensated, so we could go +3. Why not? And now we have to make sure we get to our -18, which was our start. All right, all right, all right. This is fine. We don't, we had like a +1 here and there, +2. So there we have it. If we wanted to engage the EQ, that's a whole different beast. Now it's all to off, so there's not even a high pass, which we should kind of have, maybe. I should probably so there's the filter section in the center, as far as I understand it, has 3 positions like the other bands, A, B, and C. A is a single high pass with frequency selection. These ones got 1 and 2. So because we are people of culture, we're gonna use white noise this time. And so now we're sending white noise in the hope to know that if we shave this, we're gonna see it for some reason. Let me see. Are we not seeing that? Oh my God, he's in trouble. Let me see, 70? Maybe because it's a bit too, let me see. Let's do tone generator. Let's do this and put 50 Hertz. All right. So if I were to take an EQ, a very normal EQ, and I would do something like this, just to make sure I'm not, getting, faulted, we would see it move. Although the frequency, because this is 1 kilohertz. There we go. There we go. All right. The zoom factor of the spectrometer had 1000 almost to 20K. So no wonder I wasn't seeing anything there. So let's do, again, frequency. This is our white noise. So you see if we shave it and we go to 300 Hertz, the high pass is actually working. So it was working. It was just me taking a look at something like 1 kilohertz up, and obviously you cannot see it. So I will go with 30 here, but if I go to the cryptic B, now we have a high pass and we have a low pass. So we could go to 1 and 2, which seems a little bit, okay, it seems to be the same frequency, just a little bit different curve. And this is 1, and this is 2, not actually changing much, but probably with the sound, I mean, I don't wanna go nuts on it. There's no reason. And we're only calibrating the studio. So let's leave it off. I don't need for it to be, because there's getting already some sort of shaving from the tape formula. So let's turn this guy off. Let's disable this track here, this tiny track, we call it tone, and we disable it. And this track is gonna be our tone generator for years to come. No, we're not gonna open it anymore, hopefully. We're gonna keep this guy here. We're not gonna use the mix bus, the mix tool. We're gonna put it back to 0, actually a little bit less. I don't want you to be destroyed by it. And we are going to take away spectrum and level meter because we don't need them. So now let's sort of like wrap it up in what we've done. We've created 8 buses. Each one of these buses has a bus preamp emulator or a bus signal chain emulator. So we get some mojo from every bus. The mojo is different, slightly different. So you see the bus numbers are all different. Now we go from the buses to the mix bus, where we have a bus compressor and another compressor that I'm only using as a vibe generator. And then we have a tape machine. So this tape machine is set to a formula that we were told by some very nice person that just told me something because I haven't tried it yet. So C1 sounds great. It's a Studer 820. Okay, I see it now. Studer 820 would be pretty fancy for Sound City to have because, you know, European tape in the US and vice versa is usually fancy. And when you need to repair them, that's even fancier because if you want to fix an Ampex in Europe, you're going to have some fun, especially in Berlin. However, now you have everything. We're just lacking the band in the studio. Luckily, I have some tracks that I brought with me. The band is a very cool band. It's called Nature in the City. And I'm going to unhide these tracks if I can. How can I do it? Like this. Pro Tools style. Go. So here's the tracks. We've got drums. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to be bored to death to name. The song is really cool, but the tracks are all over the place just because, you know, that's what happened. So we're gonna take these out. We only have the mixer. There's no colors. It's the worst that could happen. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these tracks, move them down, and we're going to send these to some tracks, to some buses, because right now they all go to the mix bus, but we want to send drums to drums and blah, blah, blah. So it's quite of a cool arrangement. Look at how many tracks we have. In theory, we wouldn't be so lucky in having the chance to write down so many tracks because the console has 24, the tape machines, it's actually 24, I think it's 48, but anyway, we might have two 24 track tape machines, so we could live with a 48, but you know, 24 was already a lot. So it is really cool. You know, I'm reading the chat saying like Studio One, I bought it last year, didn't know it was very cool. I've been using it for composing for all the soundtracks that I've written in the past year or so, and I had to find something else from something different than Pro Tools, because to me Pro Tools is instant mixing or recording a band mode. So I still use it, of course, have HDX on the Mac, but I needed something that was a clean slate for composing, which is something I don't do on Pro Tools. I could have done it, but it's just not that convenient, and Studio One is awesome. You know, as Kevin from The Office would say, just awesome. So let's name stuff around here. We got a kick. This is gonna get tedious just for the reason of me not being super well versed. So kick, we're gonna make brown just as a first track because drums are brown in my world. We don't have these. These tracks are to be disabled as sort of like, you know, making active in Pro Tools, for those of you who come there. This is bass, oh cool. So bass is going to be violet. This is a backing vocal, it's gonna be, it's usually dark gold in my world. Floor tom goes here, and brown. So I'm gonna just drop stuff up. Marina is still all backings, so they go here. Hi-hat goes up here. AQ, I think it's acoustic guitar. Let's check why we don't have sound. Obviously, I've dropped everything down here. So, right? Just so you hear how it would be without all of these plugins. There's lows that are already in the tracks, so that's, we don't have to worry about that. Then we have, I'm gonna go backwards. We got orchestra, violins and stuff. Let's see who's this guy. All right, so these V's, because I didn't track the session, are all orchestra. So orchestra could be orangey. Man, that's a bright orange. I'm gonna have to leave it there. Tom, tambourine, snare, top, bottom, shaker, room. These are all drums. We know what drums, what's the drum color. It's these guys here, which also have to go some sort of like away from the orange. Robin is a dear friend of mine, also singer here. So he's gonna be whatever, like a bright yellowish thing. I usually use gold. Peace outside the window in 20 seconds. Ah, what? No, I haven't heard anything. You can destroy this. Destroy worlds. It's okay. Haven't heard it. Overheads. All right, this is still Robin. Robin is sort of like a yellow kind of thing. Let's drop it down here. Overheads, master. All right, this thing we don't need. I think this is their print. So we make inactive, but the overheads we want. Now, it is tedious. I should have moved it, I know, but I'm usually not doing that much. So we go F3, hide these folks here, put it back here. We got 2 more acoustics. We should put them on like a sort of a greener thing. These. Audio, what is this? Audio is the best way to call your tracks ever. Like that's instant, fantastic for any engineer. Oh, obviously I moved everything down here. So this is a fiddle. And we're gonna put it, what have we used? Sort of a greener kind of thing? I don't remember anymore. No, that was, you see, I'm not used to mixing. Oh, we used orange. Awesome. All of these colors work perfectly for me if I write a soundtrack. Like every instrument's got its colors, but if I actually do it for a sort of like a more bandy thing, it's just all the time changing. So we got there, people. Do we have colors everywhere? No. We had head ribbon. What's this thing? Who's this dude? Okay, that's a mono overhead. All right, what's this dude? That's more stuff. Imp. What's this? All right, that's a backing vocal. So backing vocal is gonna be a little bit different after Marina or after here actually. And then this, we said it's drums. It is pretty fast. I think it's as fast as I would be on Pro Tools. Maybe I would be a bit faster on Pro Tools, but not because the functions are lacking or anything. It's just me not usually doing this stuff, you know. Even the dragging, whatever, they're fine. So we have it. Everything's colored. These tracks we can hide. That's pretty reminding me of, you know, high track, boom. You can have shortcuts on it. Works pretty fast. It's really, really good. So, you know, and if you do this, boom, they all go up and all that stuff. So now we don't even need these menu anymore. We can make as much room as we want for mixing or whatever, and we can do it an overview view so that we see a bit more. So these dudes here are going to go to drums. These two are bass, and they're gonna go next to it, and they're gonna be bass. This is acoustic guitars. I don't think there's electric, I'm not sure. These are all backing vocals, so they would go to BGV. This is all Robin. I have like this lowest mouse wheel in the world. I don't know why it's set that way and I have ever changed it. I don't know. Let's move this guy here up to above the backings. And then we have the orchestra. Boom. So this is what we would do if we had these, and I selected BGV because I'm wrong. Wow, fantastic. So this is what we would do if we had a new session coming into our template for the orchestra. That's for the template, you know, for the virtual console. So we get tracks and we send them to these buses that we've set up, and they're always gonna be and stay the same. So that's it. You know, it's not that complicated. It's just that I'm doing it the first time, but it's supposed to not be that complicated afterwards. So it all starts here. I think some of the tracks are actually wrong for some reason. Here, they were all consolidated. So I see small segments, and when an engineer sees small segments, it means that stuff's probably not consolidated and will go there, but the drums are pretty good. So the song I haven't heard it, so, you know, could be wrong. So let's take just the drums. And what I do usually here, I select them all and I pack them and I call them drums. And I use these incredibly high quality white with the 2 dashes. Then I do pack and I call it bass. And you guessed it, I'm gonna make these white as well. Then I'm gonna pack this. Then I'm gonna pack these. I don't have shortcuts for it, my bad. Then I'm gonna pack these, because the way I write for soundtracks, I have my own templates and this is already being done. I want this, all right, pack. All right, now we select all of these. These are the groups, right? So we go here, select these, actually collapse them so that we can make them white all of a sudden. Remember to save. And so we have, what was this? I already forgot. Guitars. Am I right? Yes. This is LDV, lead vocals. This is BGVs, and this is orchestra. And you can make these as long as you want. It's just really, really, really cool. So blah blah blah. All right, tiny, and or even better, like overview. And now we have packs, which is like VCAs in Pro Tools for those of you who know about that. So you can collapse them, close them, but they're also folders, sort of like in between from Cubase and stuff. So now, finally, this dude, and I know I talk a lot, but I had to, because that's what we wanted to do. So we have drums, and let's play. It all goes to drums, and let's go here and make the pans. So the rooms I want all the way here. The snare top and bottom have to be reordered. This is as realistic as you would do it. Tom and floor tom, hi-hat before. We're gonna go floor tom all the way to the left, tom all the way to the right, hi-hat slightly moved, shaker, no idea, tambourine, no idea, head ribbon is centered, and then we've got the overhead left and right, and then we've got the room. So, quick check, how would the drums sound? Let's lower everybody. Through the template that we've done, and how it would read in terms of how does the preamplifier behave? Have we been too loud? Have we been too soft? How does Navy behave? Have we been too loud or too soft? Let's try with him first. So let's go to where the drums play a bit more, like here. All right. All right. So this is with both on. So now let's go with off with the Navy. Sounds good. I hear nice overtones in the lows, undertones. So let's try and turn on this. So this is louder because the way we would do it is we kind of undershot these a lot. So if something like these tracks, which are not horribly loud, are playing, they're not really saturating this dude here. Because it's the average that we haven't taken into consideration when we were doing just a 1 kilohertz thing. So now what do? We have two options. We could take this thing and crank the input trim until it sounds like on Unity and stuff, or we could use something that every DAW has, which is a gain, trim, mix tool, call it whatever you want. So I'm gonna do it with the mix tool, just because I don't wanna mess with the preamplifier. So my idea would be that when I bypass everything in the louder chorus part, I still hear the same kind of gain and volume, no loudness that I had before. So right now, when I bypass the drums, I have kind of the level that I would want, but when I put it back, I don't anymore, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bypass the mix bus, because we don't want to get fooled by them. We have to go step by step now, again, because that's how the signal goes through. And that's gonna be the end of our template in the end. It's pretty cool. So let's gain it up. And then let's bypass both of the plugins together. Because now mix tool and pre-drums are one thing in my mind. They are not two things. So let's see if we hit the master insert power button, everything goes off, and I would like to hear the same loudness and maybe the mojo that the preamp has. That's pretty good, because you hear what's happening, right? It's compressing things. The drums sound more together than they would before, with the plugins in bypass, just because the channel has that kind of something, right? You hear how the snare doesn't pop out anymore, how the room is kind of more rounder, how the kick kind of has that bump. Is it as realistic as before? No. The drums without that stuff on the bass sound more natural to me, like they sound like an actual kit being recorded. The question I'm posing to you is, do you think we want something natural? Why would we mix a music record? Like, it's a stereotype of a message of a song, whatever. So it sounds pretty cool to me. I still think I would kind of like 6. I actually kind of like, for safety reasons, I would kind of like to be a little bit lower, but we're gonna go with 8. Who cares? That's a master trim. Now we're gonna drop in the bass, and lo and behold, I'm not gonna mute the drums. Fire me. I don't care. We're not gonna mute the drums, reason being, we're not going to ever mix a record with this stuff separated anymore. So I wanna hear the drums the way I had them. And after bass, we're not gonna do guitars. We're gonna jump to the vocals. And again, you're free to fire me. I was never hired in the first place. So let's start with 0. I lied. I wanna hear the before and after, just for kicks. So you hear it does the same thing. It's landing on sort of a more scooped kind of sound, which I gotta say, I know a lot of good clones of the Neves usually have that sort of healthy low mids scoop. And by low mids, I mean lower than you might think, like 150, 180, 200 kind of stuff, and some 90 kind of thing. They handle the phase there differently, and they kind of sound more tighter and cleaner. And since those are areas that really make our mixes heavy, that's part of why you would go through these consoles, because there's thousands of variables in there that make a record great, especially how you play and write a song. Let's not forget that. And how, that's not 2 seconds of silence just for these, because it's super important. Doesn't matter what you track it through, but we can hear how things are working with. And this would be more of what I would expect from a desk, like something that kind of tightens things and traps them into position, so to speak. So these I like. Let's go to the guitars. So we keep +8, whatever, we like it. Guitars, how you doing? Go. I think this is Robin playing. All right, so we got this, right? That's our guitar, but we're gonna drag in a mix tool from here, right? I wanna keep this visible, so I pin it. And then we turn it on. This is with. So you hear that on these fast transients, this is actually compressing it quite a lot. So let's leave it this way. Let's keep a healthy 8 again, but it's lower than what the bass was. And so it's like, why? Because the mid transients here, they're kind of beefy in the energy spectrum, the area where there's a lot of frequency playing out. So I'm curious, I know the question's kind of coming out. Alberto, why don't you just show us how the level meter, the spectrometer looks? Of course, obviously, can hear your thoughts. That's the next level of, superpowers. Let's hear without. It's gonna be louder, okay, but. just the guitar. And then without, and the width. Oh, it's not actually that louder. You hear there's this kind of thing without, and it gets cleaned. That's exactly the area that I was talking about. It goes from 330, 360, lower than 400 to the sort of a 90-ish thing. There's a lot of horrible areas where a lot of things can go wrong in mixing in those areas, and everybody has kind of those frequencies, and so it's like a, you know, train wreck. So drums, bass, guitars. Let's try with and without the plugins, and here how that's also some convenient thing. I can turn all of the plugins on and off with them. Let's hear without these and with. So it sounds still too real to me, but way less real than I thought. And we're pumping +6, which I'm also thinking I might even want to ease these down, but I don't care. It's fine. Now, vocals. LDVs. Let me turn the bus for the guitars down. And, okay, let's find where the lead vocals play. Okay, they're all down here. Also remember, I haven't done any volume on the drums. It's like all flat there, and the overheads are way, 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 way too much. So this is what I kind of feared. These are not in line, but I think that Robin Edit is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this and we're going to disable them. And then, you know, if I were to do this, I would probably, I looked in Pro Tools and the original session is in Pro Tools, and that's why that happened. I think this is fine though. Yes. So without, let's hear it without.
He's nowhere to be found. Hides his head inside a cloud. Yeah, and you don't wanna be the one.
All right, let's hear this part. You don't wanna be the one. Without.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head.
It's not the spot I wanted. That's not the droid I was looking for.
Still in belief that there's a
maybe it's here.
Yeah. You don't wanna be the one.
Okay, with?
Yeah, and you don't wanna be the one.
You hear how it carries on? So, you know, that's why you use emulation like this, rather than, it's just a silkier, kind of cooler thing. So it works, it works. Let's get the backings. Hopefully, this is Marina 1 and 2. I think the backings are all wrong here, just because they're sitting on the leftmost part of the session, so I'm gonna disable them. But I'm gonna take these two folks here.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
Now we were completely in mono. I'm gonna keep it just 2 seconds more in mono except for the drums, and then we're gonna open the guitars and you're gonna go, ah, thank you.
Yeah. You don't wanna be the one. It's okay. Heartless, heartless. Fall in love with him.
So in this case, it kind of becomes a bit more roomy. I don't care, it's fine. So all of these without. With.
You don't wanna be the one.
You hear what I'm talking about. It's a tiny little bit less realistic. Everything is kind of more falling into place and it's losing detail, and that's the most horrible thing that digital has, this capability of holding on to details on a rationalized level from the start to the end. And that's, it might be right, I don't know, I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just, it's not the way records used to be made, you know? And so that's what we're not used to. There's a stereotype behavior of songs. They want to be in this sort of like stereotyped, you know, universe where the message is for everybody and it works all the time, and 20 years later you listen to the song and it still makes you cry. It's because it's not a documentary of that specific time. It's just something that goes off, you know, from its roots, that specific person, that specific problem, specific time. The way that analog sounded before we came to digital was this sort of like letting go of all the details, and the transformation was sort of inherent to the equipment as well. We don't have that anymore. So I really like the vocals. Robin is really good, and I'm gonna tell him that, you know, he should like it. So we don't have the guitars on stereo yet, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on the navy thing, because remember, we don't quite have the actual tone from here. We turned it off. So what we should do, and I'm gonna turn your mix bus down because you're gonna go nuts again. I'm gonna take a mix tool, I'm gonna re-engage this tone. I could, you know, do it or not do it. Hide show track, all right? Where are you, tone? See, I'm not seeing this. I'm gonna make it super yellow. Maybe we see it, it's not here. Tone, where are you? Here, all right. So this dude is hiding from us. There we go. This, enable yourself. So we're gonna make this on and we're gonna put it a +8 on it, and then we're gonna relook at the whole thing here. We wanna have this healthy 1 dB. I think though we have it. I don't think we're not there. Oh, actually, because we haven't done it with the orchestra keys and stuff, let's just do it pop, pop, pop. So we all have these sort of +8. And now we're gonna send it through drums, for example, and see, okay, now that makes sense. We have way too much compression now. So I'm probably gonna ease these up until we get here, because remember, we're making out gain to +1, so that should be pretty fine. Then we turn this guy off. We don't wanna hear this thing again. Let's turn this back on, and let's try navy off and on. Again, in the chorus. Maybe with some music, that'd be fantastic if we did. Let's turn the stuff down.
You don't wanna be the one.
I'm gonna compare just this for now.
You don't wanna be the one.
Okay, a little bit too much compression, but wow, nice.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him. It's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless.
So this is kind of a I don't know if you know it, it's kind of a pillowy compressor. So it's a love or hate thing, which is, I think it's kind of nice. You know, I'm not here to just sell you anything. There's a lot of tools out there. They're all fantastic. These are as well. So as simple as that. They're sounding great. They're, you know, we're still halfway through. We don't even have tape on.
You don't wanna be.
So I still want to get that 1 dB thing.
You don't wanna be the one.
There. You immediately heard when he goes be the one. It doesn't jump at you anymore. Without.
You don't wanna be the one.
That B is just two people saying B. But here it's just inside.
You don't wanna be the one.
It is so weird. But it's a 1.5:1 slowest release, which is plenty slow. Fastest release, which is plenty slow. What I was thinking is that because 400 milliseconds is just kind of slow, but it just sounds beautiful. So now we open the guitars away from the center, and we're gonna hear it again.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love
right? We have no volumes at all. This would be far from being a mix, but we have the template. We're aiming at the template. So array last. We're almost done, people. Then we can save and we have like the most awesome console in the world in digital. Well, maybe.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless.
Holy moly, Greg. Where's my phone? I don't really have Greg Wells' phone number though. That'd be cool though, huh?
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him. It's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
It's like being born and finding out that when you're 60, when you're 14, that you have never really actually heard music in your life until now. That's how it just makes music like jump out. It feels louder, but there's a cohesiveness to this thing. I watched the demos and I was like, you know, on drums it's insane, but I mean it's turning these. There's no compression. It's just like the vibe of this.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him. It's heartless,
Holy, I cannot say that word, but moly will do. So now, I mean, I don't need anything else. That's there just to give me that sound of the console or whatever. Now we are on to Tape, and we are gonna listen to how the tape is going to sound.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him.
Okay.
It's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless.
So, couple things I could do. Where I think we're bumping a bit more on the lows than on the other hand. So, but we're at +3, right? So I could lower the mix between tape and source, and I think like 55% something was kind of cool. I could try and find a different tape formula, or I could EQ past it, or I could just ease out the input gain, because it sounds like, you know, let's try that. Full tape, and let's go between -24 and +24 and hear how tape is taping things.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him. It's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless.
So I kind of liked it here at like a -7 thing. That was kind of cool.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him.
But also 50% is kind of good. So I'm gonna keep it there. Let's try and see if we can kind of bump things a bit. Maybe we got like a 40, a 30. I mean, there's no nothing, there's no mix at all.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless to fall in love with him. It's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
50 kind of works, but I'm gonna do 50 because I have no idea what these two green buttons do, just so you know. We're gonna go to A, and I'm gonna try and give it some 100. Although no, we're not gonna do this. Here's what we're gonna do. After Tape, we're gonna put in purple. And the reason for this is that, is it the 3P one? Right. I mean, Sound City would have had some kind of Pultecs, right? So why not try these on the mix bus? You know, after tape, rather than what the tape has, which is already plenty cool. But we could try like a 60 or like 100 3 thing. Let's try then a super broad thing and try whatever 3K. I usually like this, but on more rockier stuff, like a sort of 7. These are settings you're born with, non-attenuation, whatever. Let's try this. I'm gonna bypass from the main plugin thing.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless, heartless.
Okay.
Fall in love with him. It's heartless.
I don't quite hear the highs, but hold on. Because, oh, I know what's going on. Hold on. That was just, that can't be. The bump I heard, that was just the preamp on. Man, all right, let's try it again.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless.
Oh, okay, so because that out in on my, obviously on the Pultec, it's on the way on the right, I just didn't see it. That one is actually the EQ circuit on or off, and the main on or off is the EQ, the path, like the signal path through, so that, you know, transformers, tubes and stuff, especially the transformers on these. So on mine, I have these disengaged because it would cause problems when I rebuilt the Pultecs and stuff from the old bunch. I don't know if you know the story, I'll tell you one day, but so it doesn't work, so I always assume it's on when I turn it on, but here it's not. So let's try and do it again. I was fooling myself thinking that was happening, but then because the highs weren't happening, I was like, this is weird. So beautiful sound, really like it on. Let's try and bring the EQ in.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless.
All right, I'm not sure about the highs, but
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless.
now these highs are kind of making it sound a little bit too sort of like new, because there's highs in the tracks that I haven't tamed off. So I wonder, some 16, I still haven't quite found the frequency that works here.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless.
Also, there's the tambourine is killing me, so that's probably the reason.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless.
All right, this story I can tell you, like the Pultecs, when I got them for the studio, I had an intern, he's probably not watching, but from Egypt, super nice guy. And we used to call the on button the shit button. That was like our signature thing we did with him, because every time we would turn the Pultecs on, or we would like engage just the signal flow through them, he would go like shit, like, oh wow, these are so good. So we called the on the shit button because it was like shit, like that's the expression he would make, and I made a signature out of it. The preamp alone here has that sort of thing. We turned it on and I was like, that's pretty good.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless.
So because the tambourine is killing us, because as usual, tambourine have.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one who's heartless.
I think I kind of like this, so I might keep a healthy 16. There's a lot of highs being there, but wow, the preamp's great. What I would do is I would still make, because they are interested for the last 2 minutes of this stream is to make a template out of it. So I would still, well, this was on, so I probably have to keep it pressed. Try and find some, the vocals could be a bit crispier, and the low mids could be a little bit maybe tamed somehow. I still don't know what I want, but you know, we'll find it, don't worry.
You don't wanna be the one who's heartless, heartless, to fall in love with him.
It's around 5 or 7, so let's try and see if this guy does it. Oh, hold on. Maybe there's a 6 here. Let's try the other band for 6. Because it could be 6 or 8/5 actually.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him.
Oh, exactly. So 8.5 sounds awesome.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless.
It just makes it less dull somehow, right? It felt like there was some sort of like a plexiglass thing, or you know when you have like a clean new glass and you still have the plastic sheet on, just the protective film, and then now we did like this and we took it out, and it sounds fantastic. Now I'm you know, maybe we make it even brighter, who knows.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
Okay, now let's go to sort of like a 900 or maybe a 1-2 and try and tame it.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless.
Okay, we can cut 1/8 and maybe bring in 2. It could be cool.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless.
I mean, obviously I'm trying to mix it through one EQ and there's a lot of effort, but I think it is worth exploring just because if it works, it's just awesome. So same with the lows. Let's try and make use of it, like maybe a B. Can it go? Oh yes, so 600, my friend. Let's try this.
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless.
This is without the tape.
Heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless.
I like it. Now, what would you do? In my opinion, would be to know that you have to stop using this because you need to move to the single tracks. It's a waste of a beautiful bus setting to try and fix the dreadful snare, the dreadful hi-hat that is just ruining our lives, and we would do it differently, and that's it. Now, there's also an orchestra down here, which I hope was consolidated, which it was. So quickly, let's bring it in and bring it to the orchestra. Because this song then stops, it's just the arrangement is insane. It stops and the orchestra comes in.
He's heartless, heartless.
All right, and here we will need so much panning. I'll do it fast.
Heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. Fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
So I did 2 volumes and you already heard how things have changed. Now the bass, we only had 1 channel. But but it works. I panned things in the most weird way for an orchestra kind of side, but I made sure like if we had like a viola on one side, I put the same take, a different take of the same viola on the other side, and things just open up so much. That's actually really, really cool. There was a moment where I heard some sort of like the lows of a viola or maybe the bass, the double bass playing a note, and it was so warm. It was really nice. Now we're I moved things around a little bit. Maybe they're a little bit too hot for the pre on the orchestra. Maybe we could make it a little bit leaner, but that's not our purpose here now. So let's re-listen to it again without anything on the mix bus and not even the channels, and then with from the last chorus.
You don't wanna be the one. It's heartless to fall in love with him. He's heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless.
Hear how delicate this is. Sorry for talking over this, but
You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless. Fall in love with him. He's heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless. You don't wanna be the one.
I mean, Oh, thank you very much. Evening, Racing the Beam. Hello. Thank you for being here. It's the first time I hear this song that Robin sent me. Like, he sent me some songs that he had recorded just to use as a guinea pig for this stuff. So kudos to this band, which, check it out, it's called Nature in the City. They're here from Berlin, and you heard them. It's just such a beautiful acoustic, sort of R&B inheritance kind of sounding thing, but it's just very singer-songwriter, beautiful. I mean, there's violins, violas, double bass. This isn't something that happens overnight. This is songwriting and arranging and talking with the musicians and having being there with the whole band and session and stuff. So it's great to use this, I think, for something like what I've done, because it really shows that the level of detail and sound. It's not like a miracle where everything is just sounding, insane. It is surprisingly good for being that. I wouldn't even say 10% because it's like a very valuable 10%. But what we could even explore farther is to take a tape preset and put it on every track from the start. Because that would be what would happen would be we would have a mic pre and then we would come from tape. So it's a very, very last thing that we could do is take this, open Tope, right? Just the tape, so only the color. And we could use something like multi-track tape, okay? This Apex, we could even leave it as is. I like these sort of startup. So we go down here and we go hide disable tracks, boom. So now we can take every single track we have, and as easy as this, we go Tope, boom, hi, hello. Maybe I didn't save, maybe it's gonna explode. Maybe we don't know, we gotta risk it. So that was pretty bold of me to open, I don't know how many tracks of Tope. Oh no, oh yes, it worked. So don't try these at home, obviously, trained professional driver, whatever they call it. And then we go gold for just the pre, right? Or we could, if we were bold enough, we could go gold 4 and that's it. So why do I do that? Because if it was a console, we would have something like this, right? In flat. So, man, there's a lot of choices. So how do we go around here? Mix, bus, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go 3, all right? And then we copy it everywhere. Super flat. I hope, man, this takes... I mean, that's why you make templates, right? So everything's off, right? Awesome. So that's how we would make it. We would just open this for the drums. You could make maybe a channel. Let me save, because this is the scary. This is scary. Gold 4. Well, my buffer size is at 1024, so we still have plenty leverage. Luckily, the driver on the Aurora I have here in this room allows for maybe more. But as you see, I'm going, you know, like slow. But, you know, no. Why go slow when you can do this? The ZL version, sometimes you see Gold 4, you see Gold 4 ZL. If you're not used like I am to acoustic audio plugins, the ZL is a 0 latency. So you use a lot more CPU power, but you have a 0 latency processing, and it's great if you track through them. We're not tracking through them. We're happy as a clam as it is. If it was a Mac, we would have a spinning beach ball of death. But now there we have a spinning laser of death. What is like a sort of a CD. I'm pretty confident though. Oh, we crashed. Did I save? Of course I did. Why would I not save? So here's going through the plugins. We might, you know, let's try and go in groups. Audio template. Look at all my songs. You can take a look. That's me, man. The cherries. I also have like this friend of mine using lots of Acustica. He also told me that like you can use it for tracking because he doesn't use HDX, but like he doesn't have 0 latency stuff. But the cherry stuff is. And he told me also about Snow, which is, however, like a newer sort of Rupert Neve design Neve. So that's why I'm not using it here. Also, I haven't downloaded the plug, so can't use what you don't have. Boom, we're back in business. So let's try this Gold 4. And we managed to get it till here, but it could still explode. You know, we're asking quite a lot. I should open, let's open this. I should open a resources view. I never use it. Oh, but we have it here, performance, here. Let's keep this guy up here, right? Buffer, we could try, okay, let's copy this, see how many we have. Thank you. I mean, just for the rhythm section, that's pretty good already. I'm saving like there's no tomorrow. I would really love the guitars to have it and one round of vocals till the end and on vocals. Please make it on vocals. If the orchestra doesn't have it, I would still suffer. All right, we reached 79%, 81. Still have to press play though. That's how it goes. All right, that's very technical. That's kind of fun, at least for a geek like me. So how about we go all golds off.
He gladly strides your way. He stays for a while. You feel it starting from within.
Well, I mean, you heard it, right? You cannot not hear it. It's kind of good. Let's try no plugs, old plugs.
He gladly
actually from here.
Yeah, and you don't wanna be the one.
This is where we were before.
Yeah, and you don't wanna be the one. He's heartless to fall in love with him.
So we're dropping, but the sound is just fantastic. I think it would be such a cool thing to do. So what we do because we experiment. We go to options and we try and go to control panel and we try and go to buffer settings and we try the relaxed or reliable way and we go, man, we could go to 880, 192. Let's go 248. So now we dropped at 75. And that's where drivers people matter. So how about now? 2048. What number did I say? Oh, we wanted 75%. Okay. You know, I need to go to dinner now. So.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head inside a cloud. Hey, and you don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. Fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless.
So I hear something maybe in the recording or anything that in the vocals that I would maybe fix very clinically. But you know, if we had a sort of like a console, that's how we would do it, right?
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found.
Now, which kind? Holy moly. Which kind? We go with the, I think H73. That would be the closer to what Sound City would have, although not true. So kilohertz, where's the low pass? Oh, we don't have a low pass. That's why they did this. So I want an 80. Okay, all right, awesome. So where's the, okay, maybe here? Okay, I need something to low pass this. It's got to be maybe somewhere, or maybe it's in here. Let me see, this is still lows. Oh, there we go. Ah, so they're different. Ah, they're different types of 73. That's great. This one has a low pass, this one has a high pass. That's cool. I want the one with the low pass.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head inside a cloud. Hey, and you don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless.
Okay, we're kind of fixing it somehow. Obviously it takes, you know, we're kind of pushing it because it takes some time to just hear it. So makeup threshold ratio, I'm just gonna do this 2:1. I'm actually gonna do way more. Let's try and do 3. And let's try and release at 350, maybe 150 attack at slowest. Let's try and go here, and then let's lower threshold.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head inside a cloud.
Good.
Hey, and you don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him.
Okay, so this is kind of making me lose a little bit of the lows and stuff. So it's not really a 700, could be a 700, but it's kind of wide to do fixes, right? That's usually how it is. Maybe some air.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head and
that doesn't sound to me as a 10K though. So I want something way up there. Maybe this.
But when the storm really hits, he's nowhere to be found. Hides his head inside a cloud.
Let's try this.
Yeah, and you don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be the one. He's heartless, heartless.
Man, that takes quite some time, obviously, to kick in, and so that's why I couldn't get it. But I'm sure, I mean, wow. I mean, I would probably print some of the tracks of the preamps. What I would do, I mean, it's insane. So let's not forget the focus here is to to do template stuff. So what you would do is you would take Tape and a gold for pre that you kind of like how it works, and you would do a batch process of those. You would take the tracks that you have, all of these, you take them into something, even Studio One can do it, even Cubase, Pro Tools and stuff. Or you can take Wavelab, for example. You open all of the files, you can use Isotope, RX, whatever. Take that and print them again with the suffix like tape plus, I don't know, pre. And those tracks you're gonna use to replace the actual tracks you have, and those would sound like they're coming from a tape machine and through the preamp. So once you have those, then you import them into your DAW, and then you use an EQ. This one would take a lot of the heat off the, obviously, of these, and you would have a lot more resources, and it would sound better, and all that jazz. Because now here, I'm forced to use a 2048 buffer size, which is insanely long for allowing me to be using all these many plugs. But since many are sort of like static, doesn't really make sense to have them on here. So freeze them and then go. So if you use a function called, what's it called here? I usually don't render audio, so maybe transform to rendered audio, preserve real-time state, could even be no. What he will do is just like, oh, well, I had all of the, oh, okay, it was working. My problem is I had them in bypass, so I'm printing bypassed plugins. That's my last tape I want to give you without leaving this DAW, which I think is worth. So let's take this, all of these. For now, they weren't pre, so let's take them out. Let's go with turning on Tape. Nobody, I think it's Tape, like an actual, like, you know, fake hair. Sounds awesome. So you select them if you want to do it for drums, and you go transform to rendered audio. If you want to preserve the real-time state, you can do it. We don't care. We go, well, actually, we want to preserve it. Thank you. And that's what it's doing. It's printing, and it works. Because those subtle changes in an EQ you can't really do without having some sort of real-time flavor to it. It was really hard, you see. I was doing it, I was like, what? And then by the time I was back to the setting, the old thing. It's like listening to the past in the future, whatever. So this is printing, and it's going to do that. I have really nothing else to add. We used preamplifier for basses, we used bass compressor modeling, we used an L-Ray to have just the tube and the glowing thing from real analog, no compression. Then we used Tape to emulate a 2-track machine, and we used some pair of Pultecs afterwards just to give that final touch, which would be kind of impossible in a tape environment because the 2-track would be the last thing you hit. But, you know, would be probably make sense to try and fit the plugin, the Pultecs before the tape for whatever reason. So this to prove that you can use a specific bundle, in this case Acustica audio stuff, which is pretty down deep to the details of this old analog stuff, to sound like Sound City, which, you know, obviously is a satirical thing that I'm doing, but it kind of, you know, it's sarcastic as well a little bit, but it gives you the idea of how you don't really need to overwork the kick drum the moment you open a session. Don't do that. Try and find something comfortable for your workflow that you can use to point all of the tracks in as if you had a studio, because part of the virtue of the old studios was you didn't have unlimited resources. You had that EQ, that compressor, that tape machine, that desk, sometimes a faulty channel you couldn't use and you would never fix for years. And that kind of made you go. Just, you know, do things, go. Today we have too many choices. One of the best things that I would like for you to carry on with is limit yourself. Limit yourself. Limitation is fantastic for creativity. And while I was being philosophical, we finished. So we dropped from 75 to 48, and now we can press play, for example, and have the drums already done.
You don't wanna be the one, it's heartless.
So why? Because it saved the state, I could go right click and go to transform to real-time audio, and it would go back to the state that it was, because it remembers what it was having on. So that's the best way to do it. If you want to do this as well, you do it here, and you keep printing, and then you get the tape off. You don't need any external application, although they can do it and make your life easier. You can do it straight off in Studio One, for example, because it's the equivalent of freezing and printing your track in. So last but not least, how about we move purple before? Let's listen to this and to the whole mix.
Be the one. He's heartless, heartless. To fall in love with him. He's heartless, heartless. You don't wanna be alone. He's heartless, heartless.
See why I wanted to do this? Because the tape is taking the hit now and it's taming the wild moves I'm doing. That's one of the tricks of having compression after the EQ. It's like a huge pillow that is going to absorb my wild moves. Everything I would do after a tape actually was a little bit too of finding the perfect position of the knob, which I hate, I'm incapable of doing. And it just sounds like 0 to 10 has become 0 to 3, right? It's just like we have more sensitivity because the tape is kind of mitigating my moves, all right? Very last trick, this concludes my live stream. Glad to be back. We stayed here for 2 hours, folks, and it's going to be cool. A lot of people are gonna watch these in the future and are gonna probably take something off this. As usual, I really want this to be inspiring for you to make changes for and to get ideas to make your music sound even better than it already does. It's not to fix, it's to break free of the limitations of having too many things. So thank you very much for watching. If you have questions, drop them as a whisper message, as you can find me on my website, whatever, Twitter, I'm there. So feel free to write me if you have questions, or if you rewatch this video and you come up with a question that you don't have right now. See you soon. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciated the help that you folks give me, and it's great. Thanks for coming and letting me know, about some things that I didn't know, so we could kind of build it together. So, as usual, thank you very much. We're gonna see you soon, and ciao.